up, Tiki? How are you?
All's good, Maggie. Moose, how are you guys?
Tiki, what's going on, brother?
We're doing well. Okay, so we've had a big discussion about Daniel Jones today. It's basically been the focal point of our show, and it probably could be the focal point of our show from now until the end of the year, and we still wouldn't have any answers. So I'm going to pose it to you this way, Tiki.
Go ahead.
If you had to make the decision today on whether or not to exercise the fifth-year option on Jones, essentially saying, we want to keep you moving forward, you're our guy, would you do that today?
Yes, I would. And the reason is that if you're looking at the draft, and I know what's the draft situation right now? The Jets are 4-5, Giants are 6-7, or something like that.
Yeah,
it's like the
like
next
New York owns the draft.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly where we want to be.
The quarterback.
Again.
The quarterbacks are not that good.
That's exactly right. And that's why I would exercise the fifth-year option, Moose, is because you look at the kids coming out of college, and look, some of them are interesting, but maybe third or fourth round picks that might develop into usable starters down the line, but no one that you're clamoring to climb up the draft board to go and get. So Daniel Jones in some ways gets the benefit of the doubt in this regard. Let's also not forget, this is his third coordinator, right, in 3 years. And we know how hard that is to create consistency and a path towards success. And so I still hold out hope for Daniel Jones. I really like the kid. I like the potential that I see. The consistency is what you worry about. But, I mean, given the changing and coaching staff, I'm hanging on one more year, maybe even two.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Tiki, when you look at what the Giants and a lot of other teams are doing, but they don't generate a rush of the opposing quarterback, and their offensive line, like, is actually worse this year than it was like last year or the year before. Like, they can't do much. They can't move anybody. And to hear Judge say, praising Nate Solder at right tackle, it's tough to stomach, tough to take. Yeah. Solder's been terrible.
Yeah, especially because some of these things that he's missing on are simple, like giving up the inside gap. When you know that the defensive line is slanting into that C gap, and he lets his back foot or inside foot, which would be his left foot, step backwards and just open the gate, and there's nowhere to go. And so it has been frustrating. It has been, one of those things that you can point to why the success of this offense has been stagnated, and how, at times we see some success because they do things right here and there. But we all know this. If you're not consistent up front, then it creates so much struggle behind you. You see that in their run game. It's why Saquon has, even though he's still not fully healthy, you see him stuttering his feet a lot. Like his steps never get on line to be in the hole at the right time relative to the blocking scheme, and that's because he's just not confident that it's going to be there, or that the offensive line is going to do their job. Daniel Jones gets rushed at times, and the sack fumbles over his entire career, his first 3 years. That's really been one of the issues, and so I don't know how to solve it in real time. I don't know how to solve it right now. There's nothing you can do unless you completely change your offense and start playing with two tights, give extra help on the edges, make it solid. But then you put so much pressure on this passing game to be like pristine, right? You have two guys out in the route. The throw's going to have to be perfect, and that's not easy to do for a guy who hasn't been asked to do that a lot.
Yeah, Tiki, when you look at this offensive line, and I know they're missing guys. They've had 11 different configurations up until this point in time, and when you look at the starters and up front, when you look at the personnel that they have up front, though, is Thomas the only long-term answer they have?
Likely, even though. Yeah, I'm going to say likely it is only Andrew Thomas. There's some guys on the roster, but they're banged up.
Lemieux?
Yeah, Lemieux is certainly one. I know he's got that mean streak, or at least that was his reputation coming in a year ago. He's got that mean streak that you can build upon, right? It kind of reminds me of Richie Soyberg. He's just mean for no reason, on game day. And so there's a couple that are there for depth purposes, but if you're looking at this is going to be our elite starting line. It's going to protect our quarterback, whoever that may be in the future, and open up holes for our running back. I think Andrew Thomas is the only one. And he started to get more consistent, and I like to see that. Obviously, he's living up to the first round pick that he was picked with, but there's just not a lot of hope with those guys, and they've been so interchanged. It's impossible for them to know each other and know what they're going to do.
Tiki, what about the Giants playing against the Miami Dolphins, that zero blitz? What are you expecting from the offense? Another week under Freddie Kitchens, or the collaboration, whatever they want to call. Are you expecting to see anything different?
Well, I mentioned this in just a second ago. You're going to have to play with two tight ends. And the problem with doing that is you keep a playmaker in Evan Ingram on the field, but he's not a blocker, right? It's just not his skill set.
Oh, we know.
Exactly. It's not something that I don't even know if he's ever been taught how to do. And so it's going to be a challenge. They're going to have to get the ball out of their hands quickly, but we know how opportunistic this Miami team is, right? When they force you to make quick decisions. We saw it against the Baltimore Ravens 2 weeks ago. Lamar Jackson was in 3rd and long, I want to say 15 times. Miami did the same thing 15 times. And the Baltimore Ravens and Greg Roman, that offensive coordinator, couldn't figure it out. It's why they ended up with that upset, is because that zero blitz is hard to diagnose. You got man coverage. They're playing 5 yards off the football, and you should be able to complete passes easy. It's easier said than done. The only way to combat that is to not be in 3rd and long. And the Giants have consistently been in 3rd and long this year, so it's going to be a little bit of a challenge game plan wise.
Tiki, away from the Giants here, when you look at the Pats and what Mac Jones is accomplishing right now,
he's amazing.
It's been remarkable, the run that they're on. They get set to take on Maggie's Bills on Monday night. But what's the ceiling here when you look at Jones? Do you think Jones can win a Super Bowl this year?
This year, maybe, because their defense is so great. I fall on history, and maybe I've told you guys this before, but I just go back and I look at all the Super Bowl champions. If you're a winning Super Bowl team, you have either a Hall of Fame quarterback or one of the great defenses of all time. I can't say that about either side of the football for the New England Patriots right now. I don't know if this is one of the great defensive of all time, but they've had 17 turnovers in this 6-game win streak and have generated 8 in their last 2 games, and it's been the reason that they've been winning. And again, these aren't like we scheme this into forcing a quarterback into mistake. We're making hustle plays, chasing down a runner, knocking the football out and falling on it before it falls out of bounds and giving us the ball back. It's why they've been, so dominant on that side of the ball. But for me, when I look at, why this team has a chance, not only to recapture the AFC East, but maybe even get to the playoffs and deep into the Super Bowl, is because they're so pristine in their execution. I keep bringing this up. I talked about it with BT a couple days ago. I talked about it with my brother as well, because he watches a lot of tape. The touchdown that Mac Jones threw to Kendrick Bourne was a corner route, but it was like a 4-yard corner route. That's it. And the only way to win on a corner is to sell the go, right? The corner, the coverage man has to believe that you're running a go. But you're on the 4-yard line. So how are you convincing a guy you're running a go? But Kendrick Bourne came off so hard at the line of scrimmage. It caught the corner, flat-footed. Mac Jones had the ball already out of his hands. It was pristine, right? It was intentional how well executed it was. And this whole conversation that we've had for a couple of years about, is it Brady or is it Belichick? It's clearly Belichick. And the staff that he has that coaches these guys to be specific and to be perfect. And it's inspiring, man. I appreciate watching well-coached players execute, even with guys like Kendrick Bourne, who nobody's saying is a superstar, but he had a superstar-like game last week.
Wow, so you're willing to declare you think it's Belichick is the clear winner?
When I say Belichick, I say Josh McDaniels, I say Matt Patricia, who's on that staff again. I'm Belichick's kid, right? The attention to detail. And sure. I remember this with Coach Coughlin. This was the same way with Tom, right? It was attention to detail, like the little tiny things. How you take that first step on your outside zone, which lines you up with the tackle or guard or whoever the puller is going to be. Like how you come off the line of scrimmage, how you attack a defender, like all those little situations that we always allude to when we talk about Bill Belichick. Situational football, they always win it. Well, when you have some good talent and you're situationally sound, you're going to win, and you're going to win convincingly, and that's what we've seen over the last 6 weeks. And let's be real. It really could be 8 weeks. The one loss in that time span was the Dallas Cowboys, who they lost to in overtime on that great throw to CeeDee Lamb from Dak Prescott. So, I mean, this team has been cooking for 2 months now. And so I know they're going on the road. I know it's Buffalo. I know they had a get right game last week, Maggie. But the New England Patriots look right, and that's scary for this division.
Tiki, I'm in the bunker. That's where I go. It's my safe place when I don't want to think about the Bills until Sunday, or Monday night. I know they play the Jags this weekend, so you might not. That's obviously going to be a layup. But obviously, the Rams had lost 3 in a row. Now you get the report about Matthew Stafford with a back issue that could be chronic, which is never what you want to hear. Looks like his arm could be falling off from his body. But they're all in. They made all these trades, the Von Miller, Odell. I mean, they are all in. Is this going to be for nothing?
Well, here's what's happening. We're seeing new faces in similar like places, but they can't do the same things, right? When we talk about this Robert Woods thing, I know you've heard this and you've probably talked about it a little bit. Nobody does what Robert Woods does, but the reason that means something is because they were using Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods as these to play off one another, right? One guy was going to block, one guy was going to be the receiver. We can interchange. Teams don't know what we're doing. We're flopping formations, and these guys felt like they could, complement each other very well. But without Robert Woods, who's doing that? Odell hasn't learned it, right? And Van Jefferson doesn't have that type of skill, and so their offense has become a lot more predictable and understandable without Robert Woods. And as a result, Matthew Stafford is caught, trying to figure it out on the fly. And because their offensive line hasn't been playing well, he's getting rid of the ball too quickly. He's making hurried decisions. And now you hear that he's hurt. It kind of lends some question marks to you. I'm not saying they're going to lose this game against the Jacksonville Jaguars because the Jags just aren't there yet. They just don't have the talent. But defensively, they're average. They have good players, great players, really, in Darnold and Leonard Floyd and some of these other guys, in Jalen Ramsey in the secondary. But they're playing very average, and that's an indictment on really both sides of the football.
Tiki, good stuff as always. We'll chat with you next Wednesday. All right?
Most certainly. Be well, guys.
You guys.
Thanks,
That's Tiki Barber giving you his thoughts. The NFL, talking a little Giants as well.